Hello everybody, welcome to Toyah at Home. What an amazing week. The world is changing. There's optimism. We could be gigging again by April, if not sooner. And hopefully, definitely by May. You know, that's the bottom line. Robert and I are so excited. One of our first questions this week is from Glenn Whelan, who said, am I surprised by the requests we're getting for our aphorisms and our lyrics? Robert?
Lovely.
This is a question for both of us.
All right, here I come, sweetie.
Glenn Whelan has asked Robert, are we surprised by what we're being requested to write in our aphorisms and lyrics?
Well, let me have a look. Let me show you practical examples of this.
So busy. It's
Look
so
at this. These are the Christmas orders that I will be doing today. And I love doing this.
I love doing it too.
It gives me a chance of reflecting on the aphorisms that are going in. It's very exciting for me.
He's being modest. That's a day's requests. This is another day's requests. It's absolutely gone through the roof. Now, have you been asked to write anything that surprised you?
The quick answer is no. I'm fortunate. I have had one or two requests just to give a specific message, but that's only maybe two at the most. All the others are for specific aphorisms that speak to people.
It is profoundly touching. We get so many messages. I did one this week. I'm not going to give the name because it's a Christmas surprise, but it named the first concert this person ever went to, the first record they ever bought. I mean, this is so touching for us. It takes us back so positively by 40 years or 60 years in your case. It's just the most phenomenal experience, and I absolutely adore doing the drawing. To be honest, for me, it's 6 hours a day, 7 days a week. Setting up the leafing, which I love doing, taught to me by Derek Jarman, well, it's 2 days per page. And that's because of the way I do the layering and the glue setting. But I love doing it. I really love doing it. And it's very odd doing something this successful while making an album, and now I've started to make TV as well. It's a phenomenal time for us, and the thought that we can get out there and live a normal life again is thrilling. How do you feel that you might be away on tour for a while?
Well, once I'm on tour, I shall immediately be fully present, engaged, and very, very happy to be on tour. However, since this is the first time I've been able to be at home for an extended period of time in all the years I've known Toyah, would I be able to handle this as my future at the age of 78? Yeah, I think I would. I'm only 74 now.
And we've made plans that everything we've done in lockdown will continue. So we will be continuing with the films, we'll be continuing with Agony Aunts and Toyah at Home. When Robert goes away, say to America for 7 weeks, we will pre-film, and we might have to move it to once a month for one of our films.
We'll have to fine-tune.
But we have loved this so much. It's a new way of life for us that we do not want to change. We absolutely adore it. So it's going to be more of the same. We're not going to stop. We're just going to be gigging as well, which is exciting.
Very exciting indeed.
And talking of gigging, this is the first number this morning. It's Trading Boundaries and Thunder in the Mountains. Enjoy.
Mountains meet the sea, light spit stains on the scenery. The air is heavy with a sticky unease. I wish for my world of make-believe, and the rebel in my soul says go. And the rebel in my soul says God. Can you hear it breaking through? says God, and the rebel in my soul says God. Can you hear it breaking through? Can you hear it breaking through? Thunder and lightning, thunder and in the mountain. Can you hear it? It's in the mountain. Can you hear it breaking through? Can you hear it breaking through? Thunder and lightning, thunder and can you hear it breaking through? Can you hear it breaking through?
Mike Nichols and the late splendid Colin Hines. Now, Glyn, you did ask before Thunder in the Mountains if I had any strange requests. Only when the lyric I've been requested is very, very strange, like Creepy Room. And in that case, I do a completely different drawing associated with Creepy Room. But I still love doing it. This is all your memories. And you're taking me on how my work has changed your life. You're taking me on that journey. I want to introduce you to someone now who you've never met before. This is Sybil. She is phenomenal. She's made from one piece of wood by Ant Beetlestone. Robert and I found her at an exhibition. She was pretty much unwanted and we fell in love with her immediately. And she's been here for about 20 years now. But what was glorious about her, for the first 2 years we had her, a queen ant lived on her because she's, I think, a very large piece of cypress. And the ant would just crawl all over her. I can remember putting little drops of sugar water on a Q-tip next to the ant so the ant hadn't had something to eat. We adore her. When people come into this room, they generally scream, and that suits us fine. She's called Sybil the Storyteller, and I'm going to sit next to her all this broadcast because she makes me so happy. I've had a lovely question off Mike Murray, and Mike has said, do I keep any photographs from the many photo sessions that are behind the scenes? Over the years, I have moved so much, Mike, I've actually lost the really precious ones. They just disappear in packing boxes. And I rely on other people who were present at video shoots and photo shoots to supply what was going on behind the scenes. So I have found some that were taken in recent years, which I'm going to talk you through. They're very career orientated. I can't find anything that is just blazing fun. You'll certainly never find any pictures of me partying on a beach because that just never happens. So the first one is the photo shoot for In the Court of the Crimson Queen 3 years ago, which was done at a theatre outside Aylesbury where King Crimson were rehearsing, and we were upstairs, Dean Stockings, who did the photography, Sean Chapman, who did my makeup, and we were doing a double shoot for my album cover and also for the King Crimson tour. And these are just lovely, fun shots behind the scene. The first one is myself Dean Stockings and Sean Chapman, and this is very much how we work. You might think that we're in some incredibly expensive studio, but most of my setups are done either in rooms or domestic places. Very rarely do we go into a studio. We shot Sensational, the video, in a green screen studio and in a field by Simon Darlow's. I now have a green screen studio in the home, so that's what we'll use in future. This is a very beautiful shot of Sean Chapman placing the silver crown of thorns over onto my shoulders. Now Sean made that. It was as light as a feather, so beautiful, and I can't believe he's actually thrown it away now. We could have auctioned that for a charity, but he didn't want to use it. And I saw it and I said, Sean, that's the shot. That is exactly what we need. And he has that incredible kind of imagination where he can invent something from a very inexpensive product. And I'm so grateful to him for that. This is Sean Chapman, me, Dean Stockings and Simon, just having fun. Also on this shoot, Tony Levin was taking pictures of us taking pictures, and Tony Levin documented the whole shoot, and this is one of my favourite all-time photographs of Tony trying to sneak a shot in of me working. And Tony was so complimentary. He said to me, I am such a pro, I change in front of the camera. And not only do I change, I know exactly what the camera wants. For Tony to say that to me makes this one of the happiest shots ever. This next shot is where the big bands rehearse. It's SW18. It's a phenomenal studio. Take that, rehearse there. Everyone rehearses there. This is the SAS band and myself rehearsing, and I love this shot because these concerts and this particular group of people are so friendly, and they add people to, like Tony Robinson. We get Roger Taylor come along. Just these wonderful, wonderful people just come and join in. John Otway. And it's just a fabulous event. The concerts go on for about 3 hours. How they do that, I do not know. But that's a rehearsal photo. They know how to rehearse in style. Now, this is one of my favourite photos. It's my dress fitting, my costume fitting to play Queen Elizabeth I in the stage version of Jubilee. And the fitting took place in the brilliant costume department at the Royal Exchange Theatre in Manchester. The talent in that room, well, on that entire floor, these were the world's best seamstresses and designers, and the dress that they made me was incredible. So for this first fitting, I'm in the crinoline, I'm in the corset, and I had to be corseted very tight, and then the dress was built around me in the most beautiful white brocade, just stunning. It's one of the best costumes I've ever had, and I love this photo because it so shows the process of how one gets into your costume and how it's built around you. And I enjoyed playing Queen Elizabeth I so much. She was such a deep character. We all know that. We know she was complex, greedy, cowardly, megalomaniac, super intelligent. She had every level going for her, making her so interesting to play. And this was my first costume fitting. This next shot is a very, very interesting one. The next day, after doing Dance for Comic Relief, and this was 2010, February, I caught a plane to Antigua, and then I caught a prop plane to Dominica. And I was being told I was going to be picked up and taken to the ship where I was going to do some singing and also give a lecture. I don't do this anymore. It takes up a lot of time, and I was on this ship for 10 days. But I actually had breakfast outside the hotel, looking at the sea, wondering how they were going to pick me up because the island was so small. And then over the horizon came this ship, and it docked at that tiny little jetty. And I was thinking, how on earth am I going to get onto that boat? And that picture is me taking a picture of it from breakfast. And I phoned the captain, who was a friend of mine, Robin, and I said, how the hell do you think I'm going to get up on that ship? And he said, you'll be amazed, we can do anything. And as I walked down to that tiny little jetty, everyone was hanging out on their balconies saying, why have we stopped here? It wasn't part of the trip that they were on. And they looked at me and they said, are we stopping to pick Toyah Wilcox up? And I went, yep. Hello, how are you doing? I just love that picture. It was so surreal. I phoned Robert and I said, Robert, you will not believe what's happening here. The next photo that I have is me in a Chinook helicopter, about 1994. This really is behind the scenes. This was a show that was made by Meridian, and it was a bit of a what's on show about the region. And I was about to be dropped into the Solent between Southampton or Portsmouth. I think between Portsmouth and the Isle of Wight. I was literally dropped from a Chinook into the sea where I was going to be rescued on camera. I have never been so frightened in all my life. And that is a real behind the scenes shot. It was cold. I was dropped into the sea. And anyone who's been in that particular channel, it's not calm. You're just thrown about. And then the Chinook flew away, came back, and then sent a rescue man down to get me. And as he picked me out of the water on a wire and attached myself to him, which was rather delicious, I had to do the introduction to the show. And I can think, if I forget this, if I get a word wrong, we're going to do it all over again. So those are the kind of behind the scenes photos I have. And thank you very much for that question. Oh my goodness, that was crazy. Sean, Polly, this is a fabulous question. Robert, can I include you in this answer?
Here I come, lovey. What song?
Okay, I'm going to put a cushion for you to kneel on. This is not a song. It's an absolutely brilliant question. Are you going to be okay?
I'll let you know, dear.
Are protest songs now dead? I was watching you in Trailblazers of Punk, and Noddy Holder made a comment on the history of protest music being anti-war and lack of anything in current times. Current music, given the control over radio play and music having tended to be streamed, is controlling everything. So this is so interesting, and it's interesting because no matter how much we sell, we cannot control radio play anymore, or we cannot expect it. Would you agree?
Quick answer is yes.
The industry is now virtually owned by one or two record companies?
Well, let me get the place.
No.
All right, it's owned by three companies. The largest, half the world's music is owned by one company, the Universal Music Group. Historically, when I was beginning, this is now second half of the 1960s, and we were dealing with Decca. The music industry was also pretty controlled and set up, except that generation of players and musicians managed to escape from the hold of mainstream industry for a short period of time.
Yeah.
In terms of the larger topic of protest songs and trusting artists and so on, my question would be along the lines of, who do we trust in terms of public life and social media? Do we trust politicians? Bankers? Corporation heads, CEOs, all the rest of it? Well, it comes back to, fundamentally, if we can't trust our artists to tell us the truth, our culture's gone, our culture's dead. So we have to be able to rely on our artists, our singers, our musicians, painters, actors, writers, to tell us the truth.
Do you want to stand up?
No, I'll keep going. People at home, I'm sure if Sybil doesn't mind me getting in her way.
I can't hold it like
I'll
that.
do it.
Stand up.
All right.
Okay. my take on this is we can still be creative, we can still write a truth. And because of internet followings, we can get protest songs out there, but we can never expect it to be in the mainstream again. I think we will have movements. The punk movement came out of a youthful generation just totally disagreeing with what was going on. And there will be other movements like that. But we will never be able to rely on the mainstream until these protest songs and these ideas are so successful, everyone wants to tap into the financial benefits. It's a very different world to the world we started in as artists. But Robert and I are incredibly optimistic because of social media is proving so powerful. It is actually forming a curve within terrestrial channels and the old roots in of music where people have to prick up their ears and listen.
May I say something?
Yeah, of course.
In the sentence, a creative act is profoundly radical. A creative act upsets everything, even a very small creative act in our own lives. So we trust that.
And you mustn't judge anything by its commercial value. This is why in our messaging, when we message on Celeb Message, that we tell people, be creative. It's not about financial success. The act of us being creative creates our culture, and we are meant to be creative people with ideas. We're not automatons. We are phenomenal brains, all of us, and our ideas do have influence in the world. But at the moment, we are fighting something absolutely huge, but revolutions happen. And no matter how small that revolution is, like if you decide to become vegetarian, there'll be more vegetarian food available. Things can happen.
Thank you, Lovey.
Well, thank you. And thank you for that question. I'm going to sit down with Sybil again now and try and keep my thumb out of the picture. So, thank you very much. That was an absolutely brilliant question, Sean. And it's such an enormous thing to ponder on. Thank you. John Metier. I hope I've got that right. It's a beautiful name. You might want to hear this one, Robert. Yeah. I fitted a carpet for you and Robert 10 years ago, and there was a painting, if I recall correctly, of a nurse in a gas mask delivering a baby or something similar. I've been intrigued since to know what it's about. Come on, let's go up there. Let's explain it. This painting is by P.J. Crook, who lives very close to us. We have a lot of her work in the house. There is an astonishing story behind this painting. And Robert, I'm going to hold the phone while you go up and tell the name and the story of this painting. Just let me get in place.
All right.
Okay.
So, the title of this painting by P.J. Crook, which was painted in 1999, 2 years before 9/11, is Fin de siècle, the end of the century, right? Because we were coming up to 2000. Fine. But what this is Madonna and Child. This is a contemporary take on the mother and child in the Christian tradition, but 2,000 years later.
It's also the birth of hope.
Yes, it is.
Another thing about this, would you explain, Robert, what happened when it was used as artwork and the timing?
Yeah, I'll let you tell that story, Susie.
Okay, what album was this released on, this artwork?
The Power to Believe.
Okay.
King Crimson, The Power to Believe.
And it came out just before?
2003, just after.
Oh, I thought it was just before 2011. You had to withdraw it because everyone thought it was about New York.
No, well, this is the interesting thing about artists. They go out and they see what's up there, what's out there, what's being thought about, sometimes what's happened or what might happen. And it's very difficult to apply purely rational thinking and judgment to what artists see.
Morphic resonance. Look it up. It's very powerful, very important. Do you briefly want to explain morphic resonance?
You can do that because you interviewed Rupert Sheldrake.
Okay, morphic resonance, and this is why we must all be creative and allow ourselves to be creative. It's been proven with dogs that if the owner is 20 minutes away from the home, the dog can sense the owner. Dogs know these things. With human beings, morphic resonance is that there is a consciousness around the planet that we are all tapping into all the time. Some people call it instinct, other people call it creativity. But there's ideas that need to come into the world to evolve the world. And artists tend to have the same ideas at exactly the same time. Historically, I was always writing lyrics for new singles that Kim Wilde, Kate Bush, Hazel O'Connor, we were virtually writing the same themes without ever having talked to each other. That is morphic resonance. Would you agree with that, Robert?
Yes, little lovey.
Okay, so thank you very much. And thank you for fitting our carpet. I'm not sure which carpet you'd have fitted because we've changed so little in this house since we moved in 20 years ago. But that painting, we call it, optimistically, The Birth of Hope. But it is a very, very powerful painting. And as you can see, it's absolutely enormous. John Wilcox, hello, how are you? You asked which song on Blue Meaning took the longest to record. Were you there, John? I think the one that took the longest to record was actually Blue Meaning itself, because the time signature or the amount of bars per verse changes each verse, and it was a brand new song, so we were all learning it as it was written. And that is sometimes what's really difficult about being in the studio, if you write in the studio and record in the studio, for what an audience is going to hear first. And I've always loved it when we can play in new songs in front of an audience and then take them to the studio. Well, in this day and age, you can't really do that because people would just pinch the tunes or release bootlegs. So there's a lot of secrecy about songwriting. But back in the day, in the punk time, you could do that. You could develop and arrange a song in front of the audience and you knew immediately what worked. So Blue Meaning took a long time because it's a complex song. It's an emotionally deep song, and trying to get the right emotion and the right almost flippant nature of how I was to perform some of those lyrics. That took a while. But the really interesting song to record off Blue Meaning is IER, which has a history. Anything to do with IER will have events happen around it. And this is going in the sleeve notes, because even Craig Astley, who was writing the sleeve notes 2 weeks ago, could not save the sleeve notes to IER because the computer crashed every time he went to go for save. This happened in the studio. When we were recording the backing track, the machines crashed. When I was doing the vocals, the machines wiped tracks, wiped the vocals. It went on, and I think it took about 2 weeks of us just chipping away at the vocal, at everything, before we could actually cut and paste it together, because what kept going on in the studio. Then when Safari heard this song, they loved it so much they played it back to back in their office. And at the front door of the office, a man kicked the door in, had a knife, and he said, if I hear that song one more time, I'm going to hurt you. It's a song that caused not only reaction, but also events. And Craig Astley and I are starting to piece these events together. The latest one, apart from Craig losing the sleeve notes because they just would not save on the computer, was the founder of Cherry Red came here to this room in McNay to do a live interview with me. And we got onto IER, And the cameraman said about the camera on me, and we were working with 3 cameras, he said, I have never seen a camera do this before. And I said, what's happening? And he said, it's flicking through all the programs. I said, okay, is it actually recording? And he said, I think so. When they all got home after we did this interview, the microphones had broken, the cameras had broken, and this poor director had to piece together what he could out of this 2-hour interview because everything started to go wrong. And there's a mischief about the song. So John Wilcox, in answer to your question, Blue Meaning was complex to put down and IER was a challenge. But we knew with IER we had something absolutely amazing, which brings us to a wonderful, wonderful conclusion on this broadcast, because it's going to be IER at the O2 Islington. But before I go, I want to just point out to you that this is the week in which we can promise the postman will get these to you. I love doing them. I can do lyrics on metal sheets, or Robert does aphorisms. It's up to you. We absolutely adore doing it. It's a privilege. We want you to have the nicest Christmas presents ever. So now, having talked about IER, we're going to go out with the Toyah band, IER, at O2 Islington. We will see you next week for the Toyah Sheep Farming Special. We wish you positive love, luck and happiness. We seem to be making it through to the other end of this strange year. That's Piece of Broccoli. This is my beautiful husband. We've got Agony Aunts tonight and Toyah and Robert's Sunday lunch tomorrow. Bye for now.
Bye for me too.
So that leaves time for